Hey, what's going on, everybody? If you're new to this channel, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, it's good to see you again. All right, so in today's video, we're going to be talking about two new torque wrenches that I've upgraded to over my old Craftsman made in the USA torque wrenches. And I will say that it was a much needed upgrade. Now, I'm not gonna go into details. I believe there's a lot of good channels out there already that do a lot of great testing with these torque wrenches. But what I'm gonna talk about today is just why I upgraded and what's the difference between the click and the digital torque wrench, and is it worth the upgrade? So first, I'll start off with the regular click style torque wrench. Now, this was the first one that I purchased in the Icon lineup, and it's really nice. It's got a lot of weight to it. It's really heavy, and when you compare it to the Craftsman one, it's a lot longer, and it also comes with a metal handle, so that's really nice. What happened with the Craftsman is that it just, I've had this for years. I mean, gosh, over 20 years, I want to say, and it's gone through a ton of click cycles and everything like that. And then also this locking ring broke. It's because it's plastic. And I think what happened is when I was torquing down on something, my hand slipped and then it just overlocked it and then it cracked. But just the locking ring, everything else was okay. But it's seen its day, so that's why I've upgraded to this. Now, the nice thing about this is that it's a click type, and I'm gonna really explain why this is nice in a moment. Okay, so let's move on over to the digital Icon torque wrench. Now, this is really nice. Let's see this. I think I just turned this on. Yep, so this is really nice, and it starts at 12.5 foot-pounds and goes up to 250. So the one cool thing, the reason that I got this is that on the Mercedes, there's a lot of angle, like torque plus angle. Whereas with the Craftsman or even this click type, the Icon click type, you're gonna have to set your torque and then use an angle gauge, or you're gonna have to mark, the bolt onto the, some sort of frame reference point and then make your angle torque from there. So one thing that I like about the digital is that you don't have to do that anymore. It's all done internally. So you can just set it, you can set your torque value and then you can just set the torque angle. Now, one thing that does come up with torque angle, so this torque wrench, one thing that's interesting that threw me off is that you don't feel that break when you hit your torque limit. So with the click type, when you set your torque to, let's say, 50 foot-pounds or something, then you get that nice break, that nice click. So you can torque almost with confidence and, reassurance that okay, hey, I'm gonna hit my click and then that's that, right? And so that's really nice. But the digital, you have to get used to it. So if you've never used the digital torque wrench before, it's something that you're going to have to get used to, because I remember the first time I used mine, I was, torquing something down, and then I just kept going because I was waiting for that click, and then it just started beeping and vibrating, and I was like, oh no, and I didn't overshoot my torque by a lot, but it was just something that caught me off guard because I was waiting for that click. And so now when I torque something, I'm really creeping up on that torque, whereas with the click style, I kind of just went in with more confidence. I still didn't just go full throttle on the click, because you're still supposed to go at an even steady pressure. But with the digital, it's you really have to pay attention to that, because you're not going to feel any click. You are going to feel it vibrate and it's going to beep like it did earlier, which is nice. But if you're used to the click, it's something that you're going to have to get used to. Also, another thing I will say is that with the digital torque wrench, you have to understand that you can still overshoot your maximum torque value when you're doing angle. So that's something to keep in mind. And I'm not sure if a lot of people are aware of that, but I do want to bring that to your attention because that's something that I have not seen in other videos is, the awareness of torque angle and maxing out the torque value. So what I mean by that is, let's say you set your torque, okay, so the maximum torque value of this wrench is 250 foot-pounds, right? Now, let's say that we set something at 100, let's say we torque something down to 150 foot-pounds, and then it requires a 180-degree angle after that. Now, you might be, I don't know the math on this, so like I'm just giving an example, so don't quote me on this in the comments, but the example I'm trying to say is that if let's say you torque something down to 150 foot-pounds, and then the torque angle after that is 180 degrees, and now let's say going 180 degrees maxes out the maximum torque value, which is 250 foot-pounds on this wrench, then your wrench is going to vibrate and let you know, which is a nice feature. So it's like that safety feature. And if you go over by 125, or I think 125%, I believe, or something like that, it's going to let you know. And then if it's 150%, then you're going to have to service it. It's going to say damage. Now, that's a really nice feature that I like, and it's going to be in the over info. There's a little setting here that says over info, and that's where you'll see all the times you've gone over the maximum torque value with your wrench. So it's something to keep in mind. It's something that I thought that the torque wrench would, once you stop doing torque, you could just go forever, kind of, but that's not the case. So that's something to keep in mind, that if you are going to do angle, make sure that you're not going to max out the total value of your torque range. And if you're going to do something, let's say where you have to, there's a requirement where something is going to be torqued down to 200 foot-pounds, and then it's like a torque angle of, let's say, 180 plus 90 or something like that, then you're probably going to want to upgrade to the next biggest torque wrench that, maybe goes to like 300 or 400 or something like that, like 400 foot-pounds, so that you're within that maximum range and you're not going to damage your torque wrench. So that's something that I want to let you guys know. Now, comparing, the digital to the click, one thing that I did notice is that the digital is thicker. The body is way thicker than this body right here, which is something to keep in mind. On the click, you can remove this neck pin, this pin that connects the head to the body. You can remove this, it's threaded. But on the digital, it's just a pin that you press in. So there isn't like a way to really unscrew it unless you just use like a punch and punch it out. Both though have the 15-degree swivel head, or at least that's the one that I chose. You can get the click type without the flex head. I'm sorry, I think I said swivel. I meant to say flex. You can get it without, but I got it with the flex. I like the flex head. And this is, I think, pretty much very similar to the Cornwell torque wrench. So that's just something, you can kind of compare to. But, this is also compared to the Snap-on as well. But the internals are very high quality and everything like that. And going back to the Craftsman one, yeah, I don't even know if, there's a service center anymore to calibrate the Craftsman, unfortunately. But I mean, I know that you can open it up, take it out, put like a 25-pound weight on it and see if it clicks, and then that's how you know you're in spec and everything like that. But I think this one is just, it's just seen it. It's seen better days. So I'm gonna retire this one completely and just hold on to it. And then if I do ever come across, a calibration center that calibrates, then I'll maybe turn it in. But I like these torque wrenches a lot better, so this will probably just, sit in retirement. Same with this. This one actually is still in use. This one is still accurate, and it's an inch pounds. It measures in inch pounds and Newton meters, and so this one's really good. This one goes, down to 25 inch pounds. So I think that's like 2 foot-pounds, which is really nice because when you're torquing like some valve cover bolts, especially like on the Mercedes, there's some valve cover bolts that only go to 8 Newton meters. So it's nice to have something like this. And I know Harbor Freight is coming out with a digital 3/8 drive torque wrench, digital torque wrench in 3/8, so it's gonna be smaller. But I think the initial press release was that it was gonna start, like 25 foot-pounds or something like that, which kind of doesn't make sense if you're gonna release something smaller, because this large 1/2-inch torque wrench, it already starts at 12.5 foot-pounds. So I think that might have been a mistake or just early specs, and by the time the final release comes out, it'll be able to have a smaller range, which hopefully it'll be somewhere like in the 2 foot-pound or at least 5 foot-pounds, because it'll be nice to have a digital torque wrench. But other than that, one thing that's interesting is that on the head on this one, it's just kind of like a blank cover, whereas the head on this one, it's got like engravings and stampings in it that says 90 tooth and do not immerse in fluids and everything like that. So I'm just kind of interesting that this one is just blank. I don't know why, but and then also the back switch is a little different on this one. This one's a little bit firmer, more positive, almost like it's stuck. And then the one on the click one, it's more smoother. It's a lot more smoother. So just something to keep in mind, but they're both super nice. I know a lot of people kind of, say that maybe it's hard to read these or something, but there's some tricks to where you can coat it in paint and then wipe it off, and then, it'll leave the color of your choice. So, if you're interested in doing that, that's an option. But yeah, I mean, really the main thing that I want to talk about is just these 2 new tools that I have, the Icon torque wrenches, and I mean, they're really nice. Like the calibration chart for this one was on point, and then the calibration chart for this one, I mean, was dead on accurate. I mean, especially like at the 150 mark, it was 150, 150, 150, and then for the 50 foot-pounds, it was like 49.8, 49.7, 49. So I mean, it was, just on point, and then all the way up to 250, it was on point. So this one's, I mean, according to the sheet, right? I mean, add as much value as you want to it. But if, we're gonna give them the benefit of the doubt and say that it's trustworthy, then that sheet is super accurate and this torque wrench is very accurate. So very excited about that. Really like these torque wrenches. They're well built, and I mean, they're lifetime warranties, but they're not lifetime on the calibration. But I mean, still, that's really nice because most torque wrenches, you know, the warranty goes out after a year. Usually it's like a year or whatever. So that's nice. But yeah, other than that, these torque wrenches are really nice. They both come in blow molded cases with a window so you can see which one you're getting, you know, which is really nice because if you have two like me, then maybe that you might want to use the click, you know, and so you can see through the window and see which one you're getting. If you want to use the digital, then you can use the digital, and it's like a quality of life thing, you know. It's not the end of the world if you don't have a window. You can always just write digital or click on the case, but it's nice. And yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments if you think Icon could be the new Craftsman or better than Craftsman, you know, more closer to Snap-on like they're comparing, you know, their tools to. Because I know when I first started building my tool collection, I went with Craftsman. You know, I used to go to Sears and buy tools all the time, and it was just very exciting, you know, and I knew that Craftsman was that really strong middle ground. You know, it wasn't the cheap tools, you know, that you would buy like at the auto parts store, which, by the way, those cheap tools I still have in service to this day, and they haven't broken or anything like that, and they get lots of use. So, but you know, that's just kind of like the reputation that they have, right? And then you have like the truck tools, right? Like Matco and like Snap-on and everything like that. And those were like your high-end tools, which I have some of those tools as well. You know, I have like a spark plug socket remover where it doesn't have the rubber bushing. It's Snap-on's own like patented angle, and it grabs the spark plug, and gosh, I think that socket alone, just that little 5/8 socket, is like $60 or something like that, you know. So you have the high end, and Craftsman it was that like middle ground, but it was strong, it was solid, you know. It had that good reputation, and that was nice. So you know, I built a lot of my tools around Craftsman, and you know, now that everything's in China, the playing field is kind of leveled now, right? So, you know, it's like, is Icon the way to go, or do you still go to Craftsman, or do you just, you know, step up and start going to, you know, Snap-on and everything like that? So let me know in the comments what you think, what's been your experience in terms of buying tools in more modern times. You know, how do you like just Harbor Freight in general? I have some Pittsburgh Pro stuff that's really good, that hasn't broken. So, you know, I think in terms of, you know, like reliability, and if a tool is high value or if it's gonna break or something like that, I think the most important thing is to have quick, easy access to your store if your tool breaks. Doesn't matter, you know, what brand it is. I think the most important thing is to just have quick and easy access. You know, because if a Snap-on tool does break, now I got to go hunt down a Snap-on truck, you know. So, and that's going to be more inconvenient than, let's say, if 3, you know, Harbor Freight or Duralast tools break. Well, maybe not 3. If 3 break and I have to go back to the store 3 times, that might be on par with trying to hunt down a Snap-on truck. So, but let's say it's 1 and 1, then I think it would definitely be more convenient to just go to the store. But, you know, if we're talking about like, you know, precision, accuracy, reliability, all of that good stuff, you know, quality control, all of that stuff, what tool do you think is best to stick with? You know, the Icon series or just Harbor Freight in general? Like, is Harbor Freight the new Craftsman of today? You know, or are they better than Craftsman? Let me know. I love to talk about this all day, you know. This is just good shop talk. So on that note, I'll end this because I know this is, turning into a long video, but it's just nice to talk with you guys, right? Like forget about the long video, everybody's got such short attention spans these days. Everyone's complaining about every little thing on YouTube and, make the video shorter and don't put music in it. And it's like, you know what? This is my channel. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. So, let me know if there's any other tools you want me to talk about. Or, just fill up the comment section and, we can have a discussion. And yeah, I'm going to have to just, retire the Craftsman torque wrenches. Also, what do you think about the new Craftsman torque wrenches? I know they're still making these. How do you like those? But I really like these torque wrenches a lot. These are super nice. Yeah, I'm excited to use these torque wrenches. They're going to get tons of use. And knowing that lifetime warranty if they break, and the calibration. Now the calibration, I think I might have, there is a calibration center. I think you just got to mail it out. But I'm not sure if you have to go through Harbor Freight, if you can just go back to the store, fill out a form, and then they'll mail it out for you, or if that's something you have to do on your own. I'm not sure on that, but it's still nice to know. All right, so on that note, on that note, we'll just wrap this video up. And my final thoughts, I like the Icon torque wrenches. If you're on the fence about buying them, which I was, I researched a lot. If you're on the fence, get them. These are some really nice torque wrenches and you're gonna enjoy them. You're really gonna enjoy them. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. If you like this video, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And on that note, I'll see everybody next time.